Inquirer and Mirror has a new owner as of about a month ago or so. The new owner is a company, well, not nantucket the new owner, but the new manager is a company that has a long history here in New England and here on Nantucket. And they came in and took over the Nantucket Independent in the last couple of years. Before you left, were there any signs of any changes at the Inquirer and Mirror that were being imposed by the owners?
No, I mean, when I left, it was about a month after that the new ownership was announced. I think there's not just at the INM, but throughout the former Dow Jones Local Media Group, which includes Cape Cod Times and the New Bedford Standard Times and a number of other papers. There's trepidation about it, but as far as things that actually happened, no, there was no changes, at least during my last month there, or edicts coming down about the way things have to be. But certainly, I think, the trepidation about it is just natural with a new owner. Sure. You're just wondering what they're going to do, what changes they're going to make. You hope that it's for the better, and I guess, we'll see. Time will tell whether that's the case or not.
Before we get on to the broader topic of the state of journalism, just one last question about the INM. Do you have any regrets of that 9 years that you were there?
Regrets? No, I don't think I have any regrets. Like I said before, I love the job. The job was so great, and there's so many good things about it. Got to meet so many people. Met my wife while I was working at the INM, so that was obviously the best thing that came out of that. But regrets, there's some things that I wish I, had covered more, given more coverage to. Things that I wish I had written better, but nothing major. No.
Okay. Would you recommend that somebody go into journalism today? Somebody coming out of college?
Absolutely.
What is the future for those people?
The future for those people is it's digital and it's online. And, the way I look at it is, there's a lot of hand-wringing about, newspapers. But people need to separate, newspapers is just one aspect of journalism. And if newspapers are dying, and they're struggling, obviously, everyone knows that. But we live in a time now where there's more media and journalism happening, I think, than ever before. I mean, you go out and look at all the different TV, radio, and now obviously the online outlets that are out there, and people have more choices and more voices are being heard. Bloggers can set up their site for free and gain a big following. And you don't need the traditional publishing avenues that you did in the past to have a voice. And there's that's not always the best thing. But if I think that, anyone can say anything they want now and be heard by hundreds, thousands of people, and obviously the island is a unique case because someone can say something on social media and it gets shared and passed around and mixed around, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not. And,
any small town.
Any small town, but,
maybe big towns too.
And big towns too. But as far as would I recommend people to go into journalism? Yes, because I think it's an exciting time to be trying new things, experimenting with what works digitally, what still works in print. And that you have these opportunities now with social media and the mobile platforms that are out there to really experiment and just try new things. And it's a new, it's a different time, but I think it's exciting. And
what about investigative journalism, though? That has really been carried for the most part either by television or newspaper organizations that have fairly deep pockets and can afford to let somebody spend some time.
Right. So, I think that it's the funding mechanism for really good investigative journalism needs to be figured out, because it's not there anymore. I mean, all the investigative journalism that these great newspapers have done has been, you know, funded by all the other things that they would put into their, you know, the classifieds, you know, arts section, sports, you know, all those things that paid to you generated the revenue to have these great investigative reporters not produce anything for 3 months and then, you know, finally come through with a huge breaking story, important. So, you know, there's different models. There's the nonprofit model. If people haven't been to seen ProPublica, that's, you know, an amazing organization that does really, really good investigative reporting. You know, so there's the nonprofit model that's sort of grant-driven nonprofit investigative journalism, which I think can work in some cases. But it's you know, it gets harder and harder for those places that have done it traditionally to continue funding it when everything now is just 24/7, you know, one thing after. You need to just keep producing content, and you don't have the time to take, you know, weeks, months to do an investigative project. And, you know, it was fun for me at the INM, you know, because we went from, when I first started there, I mean, we had the website, but, you know, there was not Facebook and Twitter, and the news wasn't like, you know, I always talk about it with Jim Powers, who's one of the photographers there, about how, you know, he always said, well, you know, something happened, you know, we'd take the picture and, you know, people would find out about it on Thursday. And obviously that is not the case anymore, and that has changed.
If your picture doesn't get out there, somebody else's will.
Right, exactly. And that has changed, you know, dramatically, even since I came on in 2004, where now things happen and it's like, you know, we immediately would do a story and photos, get it up on the website, Facebook, Twitter, and by Thursday, it's almost old news. But the way I thought of it was, okay, the news breaks and these things happen and we report and we get something short up on the website, and how can we, by the time the paper comes out, add value and do some analysis and do some, you know, get some more information about what this means. And that's what I think the role is now, I hope, for the Inky.
You know, it's interesting. You and I had a bit of a confrontation one time when we were interviewing the candidates for the airport manager, and we were advised by town council that we had to do that in open session under the open meeting law. And I realized that when we took our vote, that you were about to tweet the name of our choice out to the world before he even knew. And that bothered me a lot, and it still does in a way. Not being critical of you, but just the fact that you could do that, and also the people who didn't get the job could find out that way rather than, you know, hopefully a nice phone call.
Right.
And I don't know. On reflection, do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, I don't like any regrets about that. No, I mean, I looked at it as,
well, you were very nice and agreed to sit on it for 10 minutes or whatever it was.
I think I let you go out and call the guy, but I don't think he was sitting there refreshing my Twitter feed or anything like that.
But he did get calls almost immediately from his coworkers in New Jersey. And, you know, again, somebody, I mean, I guess people are going to have to learn to live with it, but somebody gets a job. Usually they don't tell their employer that they're going out for interviews.
Yeah.
So to have it out there before, you know,
they're able to do, it's a new time.
Yeah. And particularly the people who are not accepted for the job. I mean, they're the ones who really sort of get it from both ends in that situation. And we did have people actually who did not apply for the job because that had to be an open session. The interviews had to be an open session, and that's a consideration too. But anyway, it's an interesting side note to the whole process and the sort of instant gratification that everybody wants, the instant feeding of information out.
Right, and at times that's frustrating. It's exciting but frustrating for a journalist because you want, your instincts are to get out there and be first. but you have to temper that with being right and accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And that overall, I mean, there's always the discussion amongst writers and journalists, like, does anyone in the public really remember who got the scoop and got it first? If you're 10 minutes apart, 15 minutes apart, does anyone really remember? They'll remember if you got it wrong, though.
They will. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jason Graziadei, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us.
Thanks for having me.
Again, we'll talk to you about your new job.
Yeah, I'll be back soon, hopefully.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.